You are listening to the Evolve Your Intimacy podcast with Dr. Stephanie, where it is my goal to educate, enlighten, and evolve your intimacy. You can find me at evolveyourintimacy.com to learn more about counseling, self-study courses, sex, and the retreats that we have to offer. This show contains discussions about relationships, intimacy, and sex, and is meant for those who are 18 years and older. Now, sit back, relax, listen up, and get ready to evolve your intimacy. Get ready for an intimate and eye-opening episode as we sit down with Alice Little, the highest earning legal brothel worker at the iconic Chicken Ranch in Nevada. In this captivating interview, Alice takes us behind the scenes of legal sex work, and she shares her personal experiences, challenges, and her fascinating journey that led her to become one of the most successful professionals in this very sexy field. From navigating client relationships to maintaining personal boundaries, she offers a unique perspective on the intricacies of this sexy world. Join us as we explore what it takes to thrive in this profession and break down the stereotypes surrounding it. This is one episode you don't want to miss. But first, let's hear a quick word from our sponsors. Are you interested in learning more about the topics that we discuss on the show? Head over to ASN Lifestyle Magazine, where you can read all the articles that I publish about relationships, intimacy, and sex. When it comes to the lifestyle and the adult industry magazines, look no further than ASN Lifestyle Magazine. They are the natural go-to for everything lifestyle and adult content. Get your free digital issue today at asnlifestylemagazine.com. And if you have any questions, don't ever hesitate to ask Stephanie. You are listening to the Evolve Your Intimacy podcast, and I'm Dr. Stephanie. Now, let's get back to the show. Thank you for joining me today. This is Dr. Stephanie, and today we are diving into a truly intriguing and important discussion about sexual health, education, and the complexities of sex work. With us to explore these topics is a very special guest, Alice Little. Alice is not only a legal sex worker, but a passionate advocate for sex education. With her unique blend of experience and expertise, Alice offers us a rare and invaluable perspective on the intersection of sex work and sexual wellness. So, without further ado, let's dive into this candid conversation. Alice, it is an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, and tell us all about Miss Alice Little.
Oh my goodness. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Alice Little. I am a legal sex worker, sex educator, and intimacy expert. I work at the world-famous and historic Chicken Ranch brothel located just outside of Las Vegas, Nevada.
Just to make sure I'm getting this correct, you work at the same Chicken Ranch that the movie with Dolly Parton was based off of, right?
That is the very one. That is where we get our name from, and of course, continue the legacy on today.
One of my all-time favorite movies, and just love it. But my question is, Alice, how does one become a legal sex worker? That's fascinating to me.
Oh, it is a process and a half. So first, you have to be of legal age, and you also have to be female. At this time, only women work within the Nevada brothels. Once you, of course, meet those qualifications, you then apply to work at a specific location online, usually by filling out their application form. Then, if they're interested, based off of your application, they will reach out to you via phone and potentially schedule you for your first tour at the ranch.
So as soon as you apply, do you automatically get accepted? Or, can any female that applies work at a brothel in Nevada?
No, it doesn't just mean that you apply online and all of a sudden you get to start work. Before you can actually begin working as a legal sex worker, you have to undergo a very thorough background check as well as an STD and STI testing process. all of which has to come back before you can actually begin working in the industry. So there's quite a lot that goes into it.
So unfortunately, I would assume that those who don't really understand the sex work game and the sex work profession is that women, since you said it was only women that could do this, just one day wake up and decide, hey, I'm going to be a sex worker. And then they just start reaching out and sleeping with people. And I'm assuming that is a common misconception because there's not a whole lot of knowledge out there about this.
No, there are many hoops you have to jump through, licenses that have to be obtained, clearances that you have to pass. It's very much so a very thorough process to get started within this industry. You're tested, it's all legal and above board. The legislation is done county by county with the oversight done by the specific sheriff's offices to make sure that each location is meeting the requisite laws for that location and county.
Thankfully, I get to have background knowledge, I guess, backstage knowledge and foundational knowledge about brothels. But I feel like there's so many misconceptions and so much stigma that needs to be demystified because when we're doing a job, you're doing a public service that I think is phenomenal. And one of the things that I really want to do is to take away some of that stigma from sex work in general, because to me, sex work is absolutely fucking work. You and I got a chance to sit down and really get to talk to each other. And I fully believe that the work that you guys do is very much needed in the world. And you mentioned in our time together while we were sitting down chatting in Las Vegas. I did not get to go to see her at the brothel, but I did get to meet her outside of the brothel. And you were talking to me about how sometimes you feel like you're counselor to the patrons that come to you and you help them with other things that are not just sexual. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Oh, goodness. Well, people come and see me from all different walks of life. Everyone from Fortune 50 CEOs to blue collar workers, folks with disabilities. I see everyone. And why somebody chooses to see a sex worker is very personal and very intimate. Some people choose to see me to overcome previous sexual trauma. Other people come to see me as kind of a surrogate, since their partner may have passed or is no longer able to have sex. Other people see me because they're a virgin and they're nervous and scared to kind of approach intimacy for the first time without a trusted partner. So in many ways, I get to be someone's intimate confidant, no matter where they're at within their intimacy journey, which is really beautiful.
That is so very beautiful. And you're so correct. I mean, sex is scary. Everybody has it, but no one really wants to talk about it. And so I can understand why going to a professional, if you are not really well versed in sex or really, not something that you practice a lot or have never done before, I can see where a professional would help. I mean, hell, I know that people come and talk to me about it, not from the surrogacy point of view, but just from what do I do point of view. And unfortunately, though, the misconceptions can be very, very, very overwhelming. Can you talk to us about some of the most common misconceptions that people have about sex work and sex work in general, brothels and all of that?
Yes.
Okay.
I have been in the brothel industry since 2015, and there are so many misconceptions. The biggest of which is that we are somehow trafficked, forced, or coerced to work in the brothels, and that could not be further from the truth. The reality is we have to jump through a tremendous amount of hoops and undergo a large amount of personal expense and be truly invested in the process, both personally as well as financially, to ever end up working in a Nevada brothel. We're responsible for covering all of our own transportation out to the location. We need to be able to pay for our doctor fees. We need to be able to afford work supplies. We have to be able to afford our work permit. This industry is very, very expensive. I would say that the average worker invests somewhere between $1,000 and $2,500 just to begin working in this industry and get all of the heels and the shoes and the makeup and the outfits and the lingerie and photo shoots. There's so much that goes into this. One does not simply trip and fall and find themselves in a Nevada brothel. It is a very intentional career choice.
I'm glad you said that it was an investment and it's a career choice. Can you tell us what led you to this career choice?
So previously, I was traveling around and educating at BDSM events on the weekends. I had kind of a vanilla day job and was selling sex toys online and was traveling around and doing education on the weekends. I've been involved in the BDSM and kink world since I was 18. My very first job was getting to help out at the front desk of a BDSM dungeon in New York City. So I've had the opportunity to build up a significant amount of experience within that space prior to traveling and teaching. And while I was traveling and teaching, I met another educator who shared her experience with me working at one of the brothels. It sounded really positive and wonderful and a great environment to get to connect with somebody one-on-one. And so I decided to give it a try and applied online and started about 3 weeks later.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I've heard that you are the most experienced person for BDSM kink at the Chicken Ranch. Is that still correct?
I would say so, yes. I would go so far as to say that I'm the most experienced BDSM and kink educated provider within the entirety of the Nevada brothel systems. There is unfortunately a very limited number of crossover between the brothel world and the kink and BDSM world. So there's really only a small handful of us that have true kink and BDSM experience. And of those that have experience, I think I probably have the most experience from both being a top as well as a bottom. I identify as a switch and I've experienced both professionally and personally both sides of the equation.
One of the things that I love about hearing you say that you're a top is that you're very, 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 very petite and very tiny. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I am very, very petite, and it surprises people that I am indeed a very fierce and confident top, and very, very well versed in.
That was one of the very first things I noticed about you is when we got to sit down and talk on our panel is you are a fierce, fierce woman who does not seem to let anybody run over you. You know exactly what you want and you go for exactly what you want. And not only as a fellow woman, looking in on that, it's just beautiful to watch because for some reason, again, these misconceptions, tiny women are not supposed to be fierce, but here you are and just killing it. I love it.
Oh, not at all. It always throws people off. I'm petite. I look very young for my age. I'm 33 and I still get constantly carded everywhere I go. It always throws people off until I start speaking and all of a sudden they're like, oh, wait a minute. That's a grown-ass woman there who's got some education behind what she's saying here. Hold on, I want to listen and pay a little bit more attention. So I think that dichotomy is a lot of fun to play with.
And to continue to highlight your extreme and beautiful education, you're also a writer. One of the reasons that I got to meet you was at the ASN Awards back in 2023 when you won the Erotic Writer of the Year award. I think I said that correctly, right?
Yes, which was such a surprise, and I was really, really honored to be nominated and even more honored to have won the award, which was wonderful.
Okay, so now you have to tell all the listeners, what are some of the things you write? Tell me about the good old smut. Love every second of it.
So I do a whole variety of things. My most recent was a contribution to a collaborative project called A Woman's Right to Pleasure that was published in New York City by Black Book Media. It was a collection and collaboration of art, essays, poetries, and intimate stories talking about a woman's right to own her body, her pleasure, and really embrace that wholeheartedly, which was a really wonderful project to be involved with. I also blog extensively, and then I do a bunch of other creative writing as well for my Patreon.
While doing my fangirl research, I came across an article that talked about you being the highest earner for the brothels in Nevada in that county. And I think that it really shows if you are very good at your job and if you're loving what you do, you should be rewarded for it.
Yeah, it's important work. It's valuable work. It does a tremendous amount of good, both for individuals as well as society. And I think it's important that we value sex work and sex workers. So by no means am I opposed to my income being out there and being known, but I had never put it out there myself. I never set out to become known as like, oh, she's like the highest paid sex worker. Like, I suppose it's a very nice thing, but I guess for me, the reason why I do this hasn't really changed since the beginning. It's always been about helping people more so than about, oh, and I make a bunch of money.
I know I deal with some of the same issues with people thinking that I make bukus of money because I have a doctorate. Well, that just means I owe a lot. But I got into this business because I wanted to help people. I wanted to change lives. And for me, hearing you and knowing you, I know that your work ethic and your whole viewpoint on life is to change lives and to make sure that you're making other people's lives as happy, healthy, and sexy as possible. So I love that. I love that. But you're not just a sex worker. There's so many different elements to you. You are a landowner. You are a farmer. You are a beautiful businesswoman. You are so much more than just sex work. And I feel like that label just gets stuck with you, and that bothers me.
I mean, don't get me wrong, my life is work, 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 and more work, but that's of my own choosing and volition here. Like, I chose to purchase a beautiful farmstead in Colorado, and I chose to have 26 goats, and I chose to get involved with horse breeding, and those are the things that I'm deeply passionate about, that feed me and nourish me, and, like, I'm sitting here drinking out of, like, my little coffee mug for my ranch here, my little mostly goats coffee mug here. So, I mean, I drink all the time, but it's not just sex all the time. Oh my gosh, I am a real human being. It's not like I run around cleaning stalls and taking care of horses while wearing this adorable little dress. You better believe I'm getting changed into something far more practical and not wearing high heels out into the horse field. That doesn't make sense, unless it's for pictures.
I can imagine that when you started this, friends and family sort of gave maybe a side eye. So were they supportive, or did they have any positive feedback for you when you first started your career?
Not only was my family supportive, my mother was so incredibly relieved that I had started working within the Nevada brothel system, because prior to that, I had worked as a jockey at a New York racetrack, racing thoroughbred horses, which was incredibly fun and incredibly dangerous. So my mom was like, great, do it. That sounds awesome. Please don't ride thoroughbreds anymore. Good job. That's safer.
A jockey. There's just nothing you haven't done, and I love everything about you about that. And it seems like that was a very, how in the hell did you get into that?
You have to be really crazy and willing to scoop a lot of poop. Like, it's waking up at 3 a.m. and scooping poop for 2 hours, and then begging and pleading and making puppy dog eyes at different trainers until somebody eventually gives you a shot at riding a horse. And then you just have to prove yourself that you can actually ride and show up on time and show up on time every day. And you just keep proving yourself again and again and again. And eventually you get to try out for your jockey's license. And that's a whole process too.
You just have such a wanderlust for life. It is inspiring. That's for damn sure.
I have fun with it. That's for sure. I've always thought that life is for living, for taking action, for doing things, rather than letting life happen to you. And that's something that I always try to encourage my guests to do as well, is to trying to be the captain of their own ship and figure out what do they want to do when it comes to their intimate lives. Are they looking for a relationship? Are they looking to develop a series of ethical, non-monogamous relationships? Are they wanting to get into dating? Are they not interested in finding love at all and want to continue to see sex workers? Is there some intimate trauma that they're looking to overcome? Are they already in a relationship and now they're starting to swing and they're kind of curious about having a threesome? Like, there's so many different directions that somebody could steer their lives intimately. And I kind of get to help somebody set the sails and figure out which way they're going.
So knowing what I know about people, they come to you probably with zero dating experience. And these guests, they don't even know how to approach a woman or a partner, or interact with a partner. They don't even know how to seal the deal. And they come to you sort of as, not sort of, but as a sexual educator and as a surrogate to really get to practice these skills. So how do you start that conversation off with them about learning how to be a functioning dater in today's society?
We are having such a great conversation with our guests today, but we have to take a really quick commercial break. But during this commercial break, it would be a great time for you to like, subscribe, or follow us on all of our social media accounts. By doing this, you get exclusive insider access to specials on merchandise and sexy equipment. Oh, you'll get a glimpse of Dr. Stephanie rocking their fun outfits. So what are you waiting for? So subscribe, like, or follow to Evolve Your Intimacy on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok today. I will see you online.
Are you interested in learning more about the topics that we discuss on the show? Head over to ASN Lifestyle Magazine, where you can read all the articles that I publish about relationships, intimacy, and sex. When it comes to the lifestyle and the adult industry magazines, look no further than ASN Lifestyle Magazine. They are the natural go-to for everything lifestyle and adult content. Get your free digital issue today at asnlifestylemagazine.com. And if you have any questions, don't ever hesitate to ask Stephanie. You are listening to the Evolve Your Intimacy podcast, and I'm Dr. Stephanie. Now, let's get back to the show.
So what we're going to do is we're setting up a practice date. We're going to find somewhere within the ranch. There's several different locations where we can take a meal in private, where I will then go ahead, set up in advance for some food to be delivered. And we're going to set this up exactly like a first date, starting with dinner. And I'll kind of coach somebody through the first experience, either over email, kind of giving them tips of, hey, here's some examples of things you can do on a first date. Like, you can pull her chair out when she sits in. You can greet her at the door. You can open a door for her. Like, if something needs to be grabbed off the table, like a napkin or whatever, if you're out at the restaurant, you might flag the waiter down on behalf of your date. Just various little ideas that then they can choose to incorporate. Or if somebody really needs a little bit of hand holding in the moment, I'll kind of walk them through the whole thing. Be like, cool. So here's where you would then go ahead and come over and pull my chair back. And now here's where you can then put your hand on my shoulder and start to touch and get that skin to skin connection going. And so it really depends on the individual as to just how bite-sized we make it. Because we can do step by step. We can do more generalized. It kind of all depends on where someone is and what their individual needs are.
So one of the things that I really picked up on and hear you say is that you tailor your time to fit their needs. And so somebody just can't show up and expect to have this sort of treatment that this is, or, services, shall I say, but this is something that you've visited with them about, you've, exchanged emails, text messages, however you communicate with them, and you are planning for their experience. It's not something that just happens. And so there's another element of your business owning mind is, you're a party planner, and there's just so much. You are so multifaceted.
Yes. So I am unique in that I am only available at the ranch by appointment, which means that somebody needs to email me. My email is alicelittle@alicelittle.com. It's my private email on my private server that nobody else sees. All of my emails forward to this private server, so not even the ranch sees the correspondence that I have with my guests, because I take privacy so intensely seriously that our conversations are our conversations, and I answer all of my emails myself. There's no one that helps me or assists me or anything like that. And we talk about what someone is looking for prior to ever meeting at the ranch. You take the time And once they set a deposit, I'll exchange contact information through text or email back and forth and kind of set the stage for what is it that we're looking to do. Are we wanting to explore a specific intimate fantasy? Do I need to get a costume and make sure I have that ready? Do we need to talk about like role playing specific parts that we want to have within the context of our time together? Is this something that's perhaps that I need to be aware of, like their sexual trauma, and we need to discuss that before we meet in person to kind of separate the old experience from the new experience and set up perhaps a virtual date over Skype or Zoom and spend some time on the camera before we meet in person at the ranch for the intimate experience. It really, like, there is no two experiences ever. Even for the same person, there is not the same experience twice because every intimate connection is incredibly unique.
Inquiring minds, meaning my mind, really wants to know, so what is it like to have an intimate experience with you, Miss Little?
I guess that's a really good question. I have no idea because I guess I've never really done that, have I? I'm like, huh. I mean, I know how other people describe it, and they use a whole bunch of different adjectives: amazing, incredible, life-changing, mind-blowing, ecstatic. I mean, all sorts of words have been used to describe it. But I always tell people, come find out for yourself if you're doing it.
Do not threaten me with a good time, girl. I will be there. Fangirl. Anyway, you have this radical self-acceptance that is impressive and yet so inspiring. Your boldness, your ability to know what you want and just to go with it. That is, man, that's a breath of fresh air. And I feel like women aren't able to be really who they are or to express their needs and express their desires because, we're supposed to just be submissive and take it, or, we're supposed to please the man because sex is about procreation or about the man. All of that is not about us and our desires. And I feel like women not being able to express their desires in the real world translates to the bedroom. Can you speak on that?
Yes. I think that comes down to the fact that inherently, due to the way that we're socialized and raised, women aren't encouraged to be risk takers in anything at all. We are encouraged to be conservative, careful, thoughtful, very intentional. We're not supposed to be bold and risky and spontaneous. All of the things which oftentimes lead to really good intimacy. And I feel like many women miss out on pleasure in the bedroom because they hesitate to advocate for their own pleasure.
I really want to dive into that a little bit because I feel like women asking for what they need is so very important. So from your point of view and from all of your expertise, both in the bedroom, out of the bedroom, in the world, as a powerful woman and just being who you are today, what are some of the things that you can suggest for women to do, or some things to say for them to start advocating for their desires and their needs in the bedroom and not just having mediocre sex, but actually having the sex they want to have?
Well, I think the very first thing is figure out what feels good for you. If you don't have an intimate relationship with your body, how in the world are you going to then share yourself intimately with your partner? So ladies, if you don't masturbate, it's time to masturbate. You need to actually touch your body and figure out where your erogenous zones are. How do you like to be touched? Do you like your nipples pinched, or do you prefer them touched softly? Do you like them kind of rolled between a thumb and a forefinger? Or would you like something that's more intense and kind of like pressure related? You've got to actually get hands on with yourself and get comfortable with yourself. So this way, when you're with your partner, you can start using your words to tell them, hey, I like to have my nipples pinched, soft, licked, rolled carefully between your thumb and your forefinger, gently, but not too much intensity. And if you're not sure where to start, simply start with, I like this. Whatever your partner is doing in the moment that feels good, tell them that what they are doing feels good. I like when you kiss me like that. I like when you wrap your arms around me. That feels good. Just that simple, putting it out there. I'm enjoying what's happening right now. That's going to give your partner perhaps more verbal feedback from you than they have ever had in the entirety of your time having sex together. And it doesn't have to be a full-on instructive, okay, so a little bit to the left, right, up, down. Like, it doesn't have to be that intense. You can be like, I like to be touched here. Let me show you. And you can reach down and grab your partner's hand and get it into just the right spot and be like, yes, right there, just like that. And communicate with them. Help them out. Just, ladies, men are just as nervous about this as you are. They just fake it a lot better about not being nervous. They're going, I know what I'm doing. Okay, let's be real here. How many of them really know what they're doing, though?
Yeah.
How many? Like, how many guys do you really think you can blindfold and think that they can find the foot in the dark? How many guys do you really think are going to be able to do that? Like, I can certainly do that, and most ladies can certainly do that.
Mm-hmm.
But can a guy do that? Probably not. You're going to have to lend him a helping hand a little bit. Just it's collaborative. So you've got to participate in your pleasure.
Well, I know that there are a lot of men who get very agitated when you suggest things, and they're like, well, if you don't like the way I'm doing things, well, I'm not going to do it at all. Or, oh, I'm not good enough for you. And they get into their head and they don't really listen to what their partner's asking for. And it can be men or women. We're human when we tend to do that. And so us understanding that it's okay to ask for what we want, and it's okay to teach our partners our bodies. But to some people, that is just over the top, and they can't handle that emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and they feel like they've done something so wrong.
Yeah, I think that defensiveness oftentimes comes from a place of not understanding why they are engaged in intimacy. So I would start by having that conversation outside the bedroom. If there's that sort of tension within your relationship where you can't say what feels good to your partner in the bedroom, the conversation probably should start outside of the bedroom, because there's probably a lot more going on. Seek out a professional relationship therapist, counselor, somebody who can help walk both of you through this, both together as well as separately. Oftentimes when somebody reacts with that negative thing, it's because you've triggered something that is more about them than it is about you. It's not that what he's doing isn't good enough. It's that now all of a sudden he's taking this criticism in a negative way, and it's now triggered something for him. Maybe he's got some rejection, sensitivity, dysphoria. Maybe he was harshly corrected in school as a child. Maybe he's got some sort of thing with his boss. It doesn't matter what it is. You're not his therapist. That's on him to go and work out. He shouldn't be responding to a simple request to pleasure with, no, I don't want to give you pleasure in the way that you would like it. You can only receive pleasure in the way that I tell you that you can. And I refuse to reciprocate with any sort of pleasure giving to you. It's only going to be given in that one specific way. So I guess to me, that's really more of a red flag than, well, how would you resolve that? It's pause a second here. There's something else going on in the relationship, because this isn't about the pleasure right now. This is about something bigger.
That is so true. It is 100% okay to share your most intimate moments or your most intimate self with your partner, but people feel like it's too vulnerable. It is so crazy to me that you will lick your partner's private parts, but you won't have a conversation with them. We need to talk about what we do with our tongues. Anyway, so intimacy translates through all parts of someone's life. And can you speak to how that transition from the bedroom to real life is really beneficial for some?
Oh, yeah. And what happens in the bedroom reflects what happens outside of the bedroom. And the reverse is true, too. What is happening outside of the bedroom oftentimes will turn around and inform and influence what's happening in the bedroom. So let's start with the scenario of you are a virgin. You are a virgin who has never had sex before. You are nervous. You really want to lose it. You feel like you never got the chance to lose it in high school. You're just nervous. You never got the first date. For whatever reason, you just never really started being intimate. And now you're in your career and you're kind of successful, and you probably feel like you should have lost your virginity by now. So now you're judging yourself. And this judgment is something that you put on yourself every time that somebody brings up sex. relationships, couples, dating, their weekend plans. How often does that come up in your everyday life where people are talking about sex and relationship and intimacy? And then every time that comes up, you're getting hit with this like wave of shame and self-judgment and whatever these negative feelings are. And that's now starting to influence you because now you're being washed in negativity. You're not thinking really good thoughts about yourself, and you're not holding your shoulders back, not holding your head up high. You're not performing your best at work. Your mental space is being occupied by this other thing. Mm-hmm. And now let's say you go ahead and decide that you're going to come and see a legal sex worker and lose your virginity. And now all of a sudden you switch to this reaction phase to an action phase, where instead of responding and reacting to the negative emotions, you said, enough of this, I'm in charge, I'm going to do something, I'm going to go see somebody, and I'm going to lose my virginity. And so now all of a sudden you're in the planning stage, you're taking action. Well, now you're motivated, the ball is rolling. That, even before you see me, starts to influence your work. Now you're like, oh, I'm motivated, I've got something I'm excited for, I've got something I'm looking forward to. Your mental energy shifts, your focus is now different. Instead of being judgmental on yourself, now you're looking forward to the future. Now you've seen a sex worker, you've done it, you've done the thing, you've lost your virginity, it happened, nothing bad happened, it went better than expected, and I actually came away with it like feeling pretty good about yourself. And I'll tell you, from the time that somebody walks into my bedroom to the time that somebody leaves the bedroom, their posture changes, their mood changes, their behavior changes, everything shifts dramatically. And then when they return back to their normal everyday jobs, work, whatever it so may be, they feel better. They're more confident. They're more, enthusiastic about things. They start looking at dating apps. They start filling out dating profiles. They start kind of looking in the plenty of fish water, trying to figure out, are they going to start dipping their toe into the dating world now that they've conquered this hurdle of virginity? And it can be anything at all. It can be, I want to have a threesome and I've never been able to have a threesome. And I really want to do this thing and now it's impacting my relationship. And I want to do it, but she doesn't want to risk having an affair. So where do we go? Okay, cool. You can resolve that problem by coming to see a legal sex worker. I don't want to keep your husband. I want him to go home with you. You will come, you will have fun, and then you will leave together. You don't have to worry about me chasing after him and pursuing anything. It's like daycare. They're going to give the kid back. It's the same thing. Like, get to come, have fun, and you're still going home together. I'm not, like, trying to replace you or get involved in your relationship. Like, I'm just here to make your life better.
I know that boundaries are very important, and I hear you saying that, you know, you do all of this or you can provide these services for these individuals, but do you have boundaries? And do you have any hard no's? Are there anything that you're like, nope, not doing that. Not today, buddy, above my pay grade.
Oh, yeah.
We are having such a great conversation with our guest today, but we have to take a really quick commercial break. But during this commercial break, it would be a great time for you to like, subscribe, or follow us on all of our social media accounts. By doing this, you get exclusive insider access to specials on merchandise and sexy equipment. Oh, you know, you'll get a glimpse of Dr. Stephanie rocking their fun outfits. So what are you waiting for? So subscribe, like, or follow to Evolve Your Intimacy on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok today. I will see you online. Attention, all you lovebirds. Are you ready to take your relationship to the next level? At Evolve Your Intimacy, we believe that relationships and intimacy require intentional actions each day. And attending our coaching sessions does not mean your relationship is headed for divorce. Quite the opposite. Our experienced coaches are here to guide you on your journey of growth and connection. Whether you're exploring ethical non-monogamy or simply seeking to deepen your bond, our experts can help you custom design your own relationship oasis. Don't wait another moment. Schedule your free consultation today by visiting evolveyourintimacy.com. You are listening to the Evolve Your Intimacy podcast, and I'm Dr. Stephanie. Now, let's get back to the show.
So, like, for me, I can't deal with temperature play when it comes to cold on my body at all whatsoever. Like, no one is putting ice cubes on my nipples ever. I don't care. It's not happening. I have a horrible reaction. I hate it. I shiver. I lose sensation in my fingers and toes when I get really cold. So I have no interest. super hard limit. Not happening. I don't care if you're into it. You can't pay me enough money to do something like that. Heights. Some locations allow for the ladies to leave the brothel and actually go on a date with a guest. So one of the things I've been asked to do is go skydiving. The answer was hell no. I am terrified of heights. No, that's not happening. Like that is never in a million years am I going skydiving, bungee jumping, walking over glass bridges. If it has to do with heights and thrills and going upside down, head over heel at high altitude, no, I'm not your girl. That's not what we're doing.
Okay.
I'll watch and take your picture from the ground if you'd like, but no, I'm not doing that. I don't like people spitting on me. I'm not into spit at all. It's just not my thing. Some people are super into it. Cool. Totally not my thing. So if that's your thing, I'm probably not your person. Splashing. I'm not super into like food being completely covered like head to toe. Like a little bit of like chocolate sauce or a little bit of whipped cream. That can be cute. But like I don't want to be covered head to toe in food. That's not for me. If you want to be splashing, that is an activity for somebody else.
Yeah.
And there's so many little situational things that come up where it's like, you wouldn't think that would be a hard limit for someone. And yet, if there's anything I've learned within this industry, we end up developing very, very unique and niche hard limits.
Inquiring minds want to know. And in inquiring minds, I mean my inquiring mind. Can you share with us what maybe one of the most odd requests for an experience was from a client? One that made you go, oh, okay, well, never thought about that. But hey, I'll give it a try.
Oh, gosh. Well, I don't like to think of requests, generally speaking, as being insane unless they truly, genuinely are something that is illegal.
Sure.
Every once in a while, some genuine crazy person reaches out about a crazy illegal request. For example, hey, are there donkeys available at one of the brothels? Can I book a donkey? No. First off, there are no donkeys there. You're not funny. That's illegal. Be glad I don't forward your email on to the police. If it looked any more serious, I would.
Yeah.
Like, ugh. Those are the kinds of things where most of the time I just delete them. And if it's something that's really like concerningly questionable, I'm no response.
Yeah.
No. And like I don't really get a lot of that. By and large, I tend to get just a lot of, hey, would you be open to something like with balloons? Is that too weird? And I'm like, balloons are my Tuesday, dude. Balloons are not a big deal. Like, I have 2 different machines for inflating balloons. You are far from the first person to ask me about balloons. What kind of balloons do you like? Are we talking about round balloons or, like, long balloons that you can bend and tie up into things? And people are always shocked, like, oh, my God, you really are, like, super open-minded. Yeah, I really am. Like, there's very few things that can be thrown my way that are going to get, like, a, oh, my God, that's so crazy reaction from me.
Ma'am, I think I need to know what we do with balloons. I might have that. I don't know. What the hell do you do with balloons? I'm so intrigued.
Oh, balloons are great. It's awesome. So like, there's a whole community. It's called Lunar Fetish, LOONER, and there's different aspects. Some people like you to like bounce on the balloon for the anticipation of it popping and like the anticipation and release. Other people like balloon bondage, where they're like in a room filled with balloons and like they feel suffocated, and if they move, then there's going to be the negative repercussion of it popping. Some people like to be tied up with the like balloon animal balloons, like balloon animal bondage, essentially, where you would like tie somebody's wrists and legs and everything together, except you're using balloons instead of rope. And if somebody struggles, well, the balloon's going to pop on them. So, I mean, there's the same sort of like negative repercussion sort of thing. So you can kind of see how it fits into like, oh, I can see how somebody likes the anticipation and denial, or somebody might like the situational bondage. So it like kind of fits into a bunch of other niche sort of fetishes. Some people like the balloons to be inflated. Other people like them deflated. Some people like specific colors. Some people only like helium balloons. Some people hate helium balloons. There is so much nuance to every single fetish, by the way. Don't even get me started on feet. Like, if you think that balloons are nuanced, oh boy, feet, whew, that's a whole ball game into itself right there.
So one of our upcoming shows is about a foot fetish and the psychology behind having a foot fetish and what that means and just so many different levels of it. And I'm so excited to bring that show to the podcast.
That's great. I love it. Oh, that's going to be such an interesting episode. And everybody definitely needs to listen to that one because it is so much more interesting and intriguing and kind of more like biologically related than most people ever would even think.
So true. And so, I'm going to ask, let's talk about it. So give me some insight into that. What makes it such a great thing in your opinion? I mean, share it with us.
Yeah. So like, it's literally like neurobiology. So like the pleasure center and where you feel your feet in your brain, they're like right there. They're like right there against each other. And you know what our brain is really good at doing? Our brain is really good at making connections. That's kind of what it's designed to do, is create neural pathways. And it's just one tiny between your pleasure center and your feet. So a lot of people experience pleasure through their feet. I mean, acupressure, there is an entire chart in Chinese medicine specifically about all the different sensitivity points on the feet that correspond to other parts of the body. Of course, that then starts to go into more of the nervous system and how the feet gives feedback to the brain. I'll leave that part to the experts.
So you've mentioned that individuals come to you, but what about couples? Tell me about how your experience with couples are, and do they come to you for different experiences? Do they come to you for sort of the same things? I would imagine, in my mind, if they're too intimidated to go to a swingers club, but maybe they have met you or seen you and feel very comfortable with you, and so tell us about some couples dynamics when it comes to your sex work.
So I see couples a lot. I would say that since the pandemic, the instance of couples has more than tripled because a lot of people had that time to sit with their partner for a longer period of time than they normally do and kind of think a little bit more about the intimate things that they may want to explore with their partner. And threesomes are probably one of the most common intimate desires that people everywhere have. Singles, couples, men, women, threesomes, like top of the list as far as intimate fantasies. People love the idea of a threesome. How do you go about doing that? Well, there's not a whole lot of really good quality resources. When you go to a swingers club, you really have to navigate the waters. Nothing is set in stone. It's very much so relationship oriented and how you communicate with that person. Very situational. If you go to a bar, I mean, is that really the best place to find a third person to have sex with? You want to ask one of your friends? I don't know. Most people don't feel comfortable having sex with one of their random girlfriends and bring them into their relationship. And so a lot of times couples end up coming to see me because they know that I will help them through that first experience. We're going to go over their limits, their boundaries, what it is they're looking forward to out of this experience, what they hope to achieve from this experience, such as more connection with their partner, having a beautiful, wonderful orgasm. And then, of course, any fears or concerns that they have too. What are you worried about going into this? Is there anything that you'd like to share with me that I can kind of keep in mind? For example, some couples sometimes go into it where the wife is like, oh, I don't feel hot enough. And it's like, sweetheart, you're gorgeous. We can adjust the lighting however you want. And why don't we pick out an outfit together in advance that matches and do a little bit of lingerie shopping. So this way you can feel like your sexiest self in this moment and we'll even get to match. And so it really just depends on the individual concern. There's so many different ways to approach the the scenario. Like, surely no two couples are the same.
I think another very limited mindset that the society, I say the society, that society has about brothels is it's only for ugly, fat individuals. Like only people who can't get laid somewhere else will lower themselves to go to a brothel. Or, you know, if they don't feel that they, well, I mean, like, you know, aesthetically pleasing to society, that they're the only way that they can get laid is to go to the brothels. And that is so asinine to me because first off, who dictates who's beautiful and who's not? Somebody's beautiful to everybody. And number two, who's the gatekeeper to the sexual pleasure? That just blows my mind. And so do you get any of those comments made to you in and out of the brothel, just in daily life or just anywhere in general?
Yeah. And like, I almost have to laugh a little bit at that assumption because I'm like, oh, really have no idea, do they? So when people make negative assumptions about who sees sex work, what it really speaks to is to their lack of history and understanding. You see, sex workers aren't a new phenomenon. It wasn't like somebody just waved a magic wand one day and decided that they were going to transactionalize sex. No, this is something that has been with us, human society, since literally the dawn of time. This has been with us since our earliest human civilizations. When we look at some of our earliest examples of legislation, Hammurabi's Code, there's legislation about sex work in there and how sex workers are to be treated and regarded. Who sees sex workers? Well, throughout history, sex workers have been courtesans. They have been the companions of literal kings. They have been seen by emperors. We are seen by CEOs, the president, Donald Trump. Whatever you think about him, I mean, did he or did he not have sex with Stormy Daniels? He did. I mean, the president sees sex workers. I mean, maybe he fits the example for some people of a fat, terrible, no good, very bad guy, but like that's personal politics. All of that aside, truly, sex workers are seen by everybody, everyone. Some of the most successful people you know see sex workers. Well, I mean, think about it. Like, who wouldn't want the privilege of being able to afford to purchase access to what is arguably the most rare resource of our modern times, which is focused human attention?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Who wouldn't want the luxury of having someone be their companion? Somebody who is there to talk to them, spend time with them, engage with them, make them feel special, take care of them intimately, bring them literal physical pleasure as well as mental calmness, peace, and harmony. Like, who wouldn't want the privilege to be able to pay for something like that? Like, oftentimes when people have negative judgment, it's because they can't afford to see sex workers, or they want to see a sex worker, but they know it's outside of their means for whatever reason. They're too self-stigmatizing to actually make that next leap. They haven't planned their financials accordingly to be able to indulge in such a thing. That's usually why people have such a strong negative reaction to it, is because they wish it was something that was for them.
Exactly.
So I had a very interesting question posed to me the other day, and I want to ask you the same thing. So I study sex, I research sex, I write about sex, I help couples have better sex, I travel all over the world and teach people about sex. My life is sex, sex, sex. And one of my clients asked me the other day, they said, so have you become desensitized to sex? And it really caused me to sit there for a second and think, well, have I? And you know, I want to ask you the same question. With everything that you do, have you become desensitized to sex?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's probably a good thing. So being desensitized to something simply just means that we've desensationalized it. It's no longer an astounding thing to us, an exceptional thing to us. It's something that is very normal and a part of my life to talk about. intimate needs, wants, desires, what our preferences are, limits, boundaries, consent. That language is part of my everyday dialogue. And that's for the better. It results in me having better quality communication and relationships with everyone that I interact with. Much in the same way that you would want a doctor to kind of become a little bit desensitized to certain realities of working with their profession. I think it's probably a good thing that each professional is a little bit desensitized to their specific field, because it should be normalized and something that you are interacting enough with that you do have that familiarity with it, where it is intimately comfortable for me and for you as well to talk about intimacy. It's just part of our language, part of our lives, and I think that's what allows us to be so good at helping people normalize and accept it into their lives, because it's not just something we're saying, it's something that we're actually living though. So I'd say the desensitization is actually proof of professionalism, perhaps.
So do you feel like your interactions hinder or help or hurt or anything your personal relationships?
Oh, God, yeah. So, I mean, like, my expectations for dating are so ridiculously high, it is not even funny. Like, oh, goodness, do I have some crazy expectations for my personal dating life. And I think that is a good thing. I know exactly the kind of partner I want as well as the partner I don't want, what kinds of needs I have, desires I have, my intimate preferences. Oh, I've got it all the way dialed in.
So it sounds like you know exactly what you want mentally, physically, emotionally, sexually, romantically, and all of the other things that you can think of. But I would assume that does it make dating hard for you in quote unquote the real world, which the real world to me is like I live in my fantasy world. But anyway, is it hard for you?
Oh, it's impossible. Dating as a sex worker is ridiculously challenging because the average person highly stigmatizes the profession and misunderstands it. And sex workers are oftentimes banned from the majority of dating apps. If I were to make a Tinder account, I would be banned on site. Literally, the photo recognition would see me, a out sex worker. It would be like, sorry, you can't have an account. You're probably soliciting. You're not allowed to use this for casual dating. Like, I have had so many of my personal accounts terminated simply because of what I do professionally. It's not even funny.
I didn't even think of that. But yeah, I get it. Yeah. I get shut down on social media for a lot of things, and I just educate. I'm not trying to, I just educate. Same as you. It's what it is. You're doing education as well. So my question is, how in the hell do you date? If everything gets shut down, where do you find dates?
Oh, yeah. I mentioned that because anytime that sex workers are targeted, oftentimes we're kind of the canary in the coal mine for further censorship that is going to impact everyone else that is a legal consenting adult. For example, when sex workers have their nudity and their content censored off their internet, you better believe they're coming for your naked body next. You're not going to be allowed to post in a bikini either. You better believe Instagram is going to delete you too. Like, they absolutely systematically will start with the most marginalized communities, which oftentimes are sex workers. Oh, it's purely referral based at this point. Like, oh, you've got to have like a personal referral from somebody I know who's like, I know this person, and I think that they would actually meet your ridiculous checklist. And I do mean it's a very thorough, exhaustive checklist. Like, I am solo, poly, I'm not looking for a primary relationship. You're not moving in with me. We're not getting married. This is my farm and my business, not our farm and our business. Like, I'm not looking for somebody to make me whole. I'm already plenty whole, and I'm looking for somebody else who's plenty whole and actualized and functional in their life. And I've got really high expectations. And so, like, I want to be able to get, like, a little bit of data on the person. Like, okay, tell me about your friend. Yeah? What do they do? How long have they been doing that for? Uh-huh. Yeah? Okay. So do they have pets? They like animals? Gotta like animals. That's, early on the checklist there. And it just kind of goes from there. I'm really happy in my life. I'm thrilled with my career. I love everything I'm doing in my life. I don't need somebody else to complete me, to create that happiness. Like, I'm already complete and whole, thank you. And that is one thing I always try to pass on to people who come to me and say, okay, I think I want to start dating. What advice do you have for me? It's like, well, first you got to really, really love yourself and like really mean it. Like, you got to really mean it, because you've got to hold yourself in such high regard that you're not going to let somebody come in that isn't going to be a good fit for you, that is actually going to be harmful and disruptive to your life. Because it's not just about getting a partner, it's about getting the right person. You actually have to have someone that's complementary to your goals and your lifestyle and your intimate preferences. And like, usually you don't meet those people while drunk at a bar anyway.
As we begin to wrap up this amazing interview, and thank you so much for joining me, but can you share some parting nuggets of knowledge with my audience? And what do you want them to walk away from this interview knowing and feeling and learning?
Ooh, I would say if you are holding in stigma, shame, weird feelings around that thing that you're into, and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm the only person who was ever into that thing. You're not. I promise you're not. I have heard it all before. It has been probably 2 years since somebody has brought me a truly original, I haven't heard that one before situation. Really, you are not alone in whatever it is you're going through. You can talk to people about it. It is okay. And in fact, the best thing you can do is to take action and switch from that reactive mode into a mode of action where you are taking control of your intimate life and your intimate destiny.
Can you share with everybody how they can reach out to you if they want to work with you or learn more about you or read your stories or all the amazing things that you do? How can they find you?
Yes, I am all over the web, but the best place to find me is my website, which is going to be thealicelittle.com. And if you would like to reach me personally, the best way is email alicelittle@thealicelittle.com. I do try to keep up with like social media messages, but things absolutely fall through the crack on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. Like, if you're looking to chat with me, please send me an email specifically. I don't want to miss your Instagram message because it's in the sub-hidden folder and I didn't see it. I'm going to feel really bad if that happens.
I want to take just a second to express to everyone listening that Miss Alice Little is the genuine person that you heard here today. I had the privilege of sitting next to her on a panel in Las Vegas as we were being interviewed regarding sex work and just sex and more sex and sex. But this woman is genuinely just who you see there. She's not trying to hide anything. She's not trying to be anybody. She's not. And I am constantly impressed by all of the things that she does and for all of the people that she helps, all the stories that she writes. I might be the biggest fangirl she's ever had, but that's okay. I might go and visit the chicken ranch one day. Who knows? I don't know, but I hope to see her again in the Poconos, and that Poconos is the ASN Awards this year. It's going to be in August. And so we're going to have the Naked Olympics and all kinds of fun stuff. I know she's been nominated for an ASN award again. I'm not sure. We don't know who's going to win, but hopefully we'll see that in August. Anyway, reach out, talk to her, let her help you. Man, she's an amazing person. If you haven't followed her, follow her on all the socials. If you haven't followed me, follow me on all the socials. I love you guys and I appreciate you all, and I will talk to you soon. Good night. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to listen to my show. I am Dr. Stephanie with Evolve Your Intimacy, and remember, you are not in this alone, and we are definitely here to help. You can learn more about all the amazing things that we do at evolveyourintimacy.com, and if you subscribe to our newsletter, you will receive free resources monthly to help you evolve your intimacy. Thank you again, and have a great night.